engaged. We're engaged. Garrett, you might want to take down a few notes.
Is it on YouTube?
It will be.
Okay, so the topic of the challenges of the discovery of oil in Kenya. And first of all, there are some demographic information about Kenya. Kenya is located near the Indian Ocean. It's in Eastern Africa. And Kenya has a republic government with a population of 44 million people. Their economy was impeded by corruption, and they rely on food products such as teas, horticultural products, coffees, and they're all exported with low prices. It is believed that there's going to be an opportunity for Kenya to balance trade deficit if Kenya can develop and export its oil. The GDP purchasing power parity is 76 billion, which is ranked 84th in the world ranking, and GDP official exchange rate is 41 billion, and the GDP growth rate is 5.1% per year. The unemployment rate is 40%, and the population below poverty line is 50%. So on March 22nd, 2012, the Tullow Oil Company from London announced that it found oil in a few potential wells in Kenya. It is proven that Kenya is physically capable and will be able to produce oil commercially in 6 to 7 years. Furthermore, Kenya's reserve has as much as 65 feet of net oil pay. So if it's successful, Kenya is going to have a very strong oil industry that will have a positive impact in Kenya's economy and its future. The discovery of oil brought Kenyans little hopes and a lot of concerns, because most people is worried that Kenya is not ready for the oil industry, and Kenya is facing a few tough challenges. Their lack of infrastructure, production mishaps, corruption, and political infightings. One of the biggest challenges Kenya is facing is its lack of facilities, that is both physical and organizational facilities such as roads, buildings, power supplies, and workers. Organized funds are important because drilling for oil in remote areas locations requires both reserve base to support extra costs. The main infrastructure problems include poor power sector, low levels of access to household services, road maintenance, and negative progress on water supply and water sanitation. It is said that Kenya will need 4 billion per year to work for the facilities, or it will never meet the target in 18 years. The poor infrastructure leads to production mishaps, which includes accidents during drilling or transporting oil. For example, an oil tank was spilled and lost control, and it rolled down Nairobi-Nakuru highway in Kenya. And because of the extreme poverty in the area, many residents saw the oil and they ran for it and they wanted to free the oil. But it was lucky that that incident got controlled by the police. But in another case, a tragic happened where resident ran for free fuel, but the oil bursted into flame, and at least 91 people were burned to death and killed. Kenyans were also furious about the corruptions that they have in their political system. For instance, the leaders of Kenya are very corrupt. Jomo Kenyatta, for example, didn't return land to its former owners after independence in 1963. Instead, he handed them to other members of his own clan and thrive as he became the largest landowner at the time. And this is an example of tribalism, and the leaders tend to help their own tribes or their own claims economically and politically. One of the greatest company corruption is the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, whose oil prices seem to rise by hours. If oil company profits greatly, an increase in GDP is expected, but this doesn't mean the reduction of poverty or the rise of income for people, because wealth is not distributed equally among Kenyans. The wealth will still be divided among the elites in the highest political system. This corruption will stir uprisings and protests towards the government. And there are two examples of Brazil and South Africa, and there are two examples of countries that has increased GDPs, but with a huge gap of wealth and increased inequality in their society. And lastly, political infightings can also cause is also a problem for the oil company, because it can cause competitors to battle for oil contracts and positions. For example, tensions between Somalia and Kenya is the greatest right now, because the government accused of Kenya for awarding offshore oil and gas exploration blocks illegally to oil companies, while the concession lie in the water claimed by Somalia. The area is approximately 116,000 square kilometers, an area about the size of Greece. This conflict is not solved, and more conflicts are rising between Kenya and its neighboring countries over oil and border lines. And Kenya is not ready for the conflict and challenges raised by other countries beside them, and they're not ready military-wise or economy-wise. In conclusion, Kenya is slowly improving, with more than 90% of the population now have access to GSM cell signals. Exporting oil will be beneficial for Kenya because it reduces the need for costly oil, which is about 22% of the current Kenya import right now. So oil is potentially one of the most important, it can become one of the most important income for Kenya if the challenges of the lack of facilities, production mistakes, and corruptions and political infightings can be overcome.